So give us the humble beginnings of
So I started in 2012, November 13th, 2012 to be exact. Started hauling logs with one little truck and one trailer, and I mean it was 2012 was just a rough year. It was ended up pretty much going bankrupt that year in under a year. I was 18 years old, didn't really have a clue. I had a dad that was guiding me, but I was pretty stubborn on a lot of things. And anyway, ended up parking. The end of that would have been the end of 13. End of 13, I ended up parking and going back to doing construction. And then I did that for 3 or 4 months, and then I just wasn't working out. I still had the truck, and I went back to hauling chips instead of logs. Just started hauling out of sawmills, hauling chips and sawdust. And then I did that all the way up until I think it was 17. Then we decided to go OTR, and I was one truck up to that point. So in 17, we got an MC number. That's why the name is still Wood Products. We got an MC number, and we started hauling. I kept one truck hauling mulch, walking floor, and then I hired some owner operators, and they actually haul out of the eggplant up here in Sedalia. So they were running reefer. Then we ended up parking all the mulch wagons, and we're running strictly eggs for about a year and a half. I was probably into the middle of 19, and then we switched back to flatbed because that deal kind of went. I mean, they were shipping eggs out and then shipping eggs back in, and the return loads coming back in stopped, and it just wasn't working anymore. So we went back to doing flatbed and step deck, and then morphed into heavy haul in 19 and 20. Well, in the end of 19, things got really, really, really bad. And I mean, it all but dried up. One of the contracts I had walked away and didn't pay. I ended up laying all my owner operators off, all my drivers off, and going back down to one truck. And started over. Just me. And I ended up loading my wife and children up in the truck. And all of 20, all the COVID year, we trucked, and we trucked hard. By August of 20, all of my owner operators were back, and we had added 2 of our own trucks again. And now we're sitting at just right around 60 trucks.
So you have weathered the storms
It's been rough.
You had to pivot.
Oh yeah, we've had to
figure out.
We've had to turn. Had to change what we were doing, change how we were thinking. I mean, it's been a ride. 22 was 23. I think it was in the end of 22 and the beginning of 23. Things got really, really rough because we had grown so fast, and it was just me. I didn't hardly have any help. I had an owner operator that had a bunch of trucks leased on, and he was hiring the drivers, which worked out good for the most part till it didn't. And ended up getting a batch of really, really bad drivers that almost ended several contracts I had. So we ended up parking all his trucks, and I told him, I said, it's not going to work if I can't hire the drivers and we can't vet the drivers. And anyway, he's now my partner.
Oh wow!
We let go of all of his drivers. We took over all of his trucks, and he does all of my accounting. He does all my. I mean, we wouldn't be where we're at without him at all. But it took a pretty serious breaking point of me literally telling him, all your drivers are fired. We're starting over, or you're going to go do something else to reset everything.
This area, Lincoln, Missouri, you're talking about got into logging. Is this a heavy?
This isn't where I started that.
Okay.
I was in southeast Missouri in a little town called Summersville.
Oh, okay. Okay.
over by Mountain View.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tree area. That's where I started with the one truck. I moved up here. I started there and I moved up here in 13.
Okay. Did your dad have any trucking experience?
Yep. Dad had a trucking operation for quite a few years, just one or two trucks. And then he had actually quit and was in the solvent business.
Okay.
But today, he's got two trucks here. He runs as an owner operator.
So what moved you all from Summersville up to Lincoln?
I had an uncle up here. Liked the area better. Liked the church better. There was quite a few things I liked better up here. Church was a big reason.
That's awesome. Talk about, so you first had a log truck, and that was just hauling logs, and that was back there.
Yep.
Okay.
Well, and I carried that up here.
Okay.
Yep.
And then you said there was a wood, you guys were hauling wood chips? Yep. Was that for a local sawmill?
So that was actually still down there. I lived up here, but I would go down there during the week.
Okay.
And run. That was running from like the birch tree area.
Yep.
Up to Bell. And then when I switched to the mulch, actually the colored mulch, that was actually out of a plant out of New Florence, Missouri.
Yeah.
Running all over. I don't know if you're familiar with Missouri.
Yeah, actually the guy that runs that operation, Scott Hazycamp, is from my hometown.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I know Scott well.
Yeah. Know him real well. So today, are you all doing anything mulch related? Okay.
That's what Dad still does.
Okay. And that's running walking floors?
Yep.
Okay. Wow, that's cool. So today you talk about how many trucks are on the road?
So we got 64 in the fleet. Probably 50 under dispatch.
Okay.
Right.
And what's the breakdown of company trucks versus owner operators?
So there is only 5 owner operators.
Okay. The rest are company
The
owned
rest
trucks.
of them are company trucks.
And then equipment that those trucks are all pulling, kind of just a rough spread.
So the majority is going to be RGN, heavy haul trailers, and step decks. There's maybe 5 flatbeds in there. Right now there's 5 tanks mixed in there. And then 1 walking floor. But the rest of them are all heavy haul, heavy related.
So you've had to kind of, almost in survival mode, figure out other ways to make the business work. Like, how have you been able to find these other, in my mind, niches or other avenues to go?
So the first one was by accident. We were in survival mode. That wasn't. We were trying to figure out what we were going to do to keep everybody busy. We run a lot of railroad moves, meaning move gangs from one side to the next. They were slow, and we were trying to figure out how we were going to keep us busy. And somebody called me, and they're like, "Hey, we have a whole pile of loads in one spot in Catoosa, Oklahoma, that needs to go to Houston, Texas." I'm like, okay. And they sent me a spreadsheet. There was like 99 loads on that spreadsheet. It's like, okay. I quoted it real quick, and we went down there, and 17 days later, 99 loads were done.
Oh, wow.
They were all oversized, except for, I think, 10. They were all big. Some of them were considered super loads. We went in there, we knocked it out. That kind of changed my mindset on what to look for. I started looking for these needed to be over 20 loads projects. And that's what we go after. When we talk to customers, we talk to brokers, we talk to whoever, we let them know that, hey, that's what we want to do. Because there's bigger margins, there's more money in one chunk project than one-off loads.
So a lot of those businesses or a lot of those projects, it's usually a move where almost the same origin, same destination. You got to move this equipment, machinery, whatever products.
That was a gas plant.
Okay.
An entire gas plant. All the piping, all the cooling boxes, all that stuff.
Was that oversized dimensional stuff? For people that don't know, and we have a lot of people that listen and watch our videos, what does that mean when you say
So
something?
oversized is anything over 8'6" wide. 6' is your standard width of a trailer. 8'7" is considered oversized. 8'6.5" is actually considered oversized depending on the officer. So, and then 13'6" high, which is the height of a van trailer. If it's over that, it's considered oversized. And then, of course, you got your 80,000 pound weight limit. You can push that number as high as you want with enough axles. We go all the way up to about 220, depending on
220,000. Oh, and again, to be able to haul that freight, obviously you got to have the right setup.
Yep.
But you also have to have the right. There's a lot more regulations.
There's regulation. There's permitting. There's there's tons of regulation on that stuff. Bridge laws, axle spacings. There's a ton of stuff that goes into it. Bridge laws I still don't understand. It's completely different from one state to the next. And basically how we figured it out was we apply for a permit. And usually if they issue the permit, we don't have to worry about bridge. Sometimes they issue the permit with, you got to, on this bridge, you got a 5-mile-an-hour speed limit, and you got to be in the center of the bridge, and you can't let traffic across. That they list all that stuff on the permit.
So we say that is that state's Department of Transportation.
Yeah.
So when you're issuing that permit, are they basically guiding you and telling you from point A to point B every step of the way?
Every turn, every route, every bridge we got to look out for, except for height. They don't do a very good job with that. We gotta monitor that. But as far as weight goes, when it comes to handling the heavy stuff, they do a pretty good job about letting us know where we got to slow down at, letting us know what roads we can or can't go on. Usually, when it's overweight, you have a specific route, and they have cleared the route with their engineers. And every state's different. There isn't one state that is the same when it comes to that.
There should be.
Yeah, it should be, but every state has a different protocol. Their axle weights may be the same. How they issue the permit is completely different. And when they issue the permit, some states issue same day, some states take 2 weeks. It's all stuff that's got to be factored into the load.
I know most oversized stuff, they require escorts or
over a certain length, over a certain width, and over a certain height, and also over a certain weight. So when you break, different thresholds, it requires different escorts.
And you're responsible for finding those companies that do that?
We actually do a lot of our own.
Okay, so you have your own escort.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Because you always see them going down the road, they got the big whips up
Yep.
to measure the height, make sure the clearance is okay, and radioing back and forth. Can we talk about, and this has just been fresh on my mind over the past months, but how do you handle these fuel costs, this rise in fuel costs? And I'll say I was listening this morning to, it was an analyst, but they were saying the mega trucking companies actually like higher fuel costs because they can hedge fuel, and a lot of times they got fuel locked in at a certain rate. When so when fuel goes up, they get more of a surcharge, but they're actually making money. But like companies like yours, how do you manage the volatility of fuel, especially right now when we're pretty high? I mean, I was driving up here and I saw 4.5 per gallon, and
we've added implemented fuel surcharge off of our base rates, and it does offset enough. You can actually make money off of fuel surcharge, depending on what a fuel surcharge is typically based off the fuel mileage temperature. So if they're basing their fuel mileage off 6 miles per gallon, and they're getting 8 like some of the bigger carriers are, they can actually make a pretty good amount of money off their fuel surcharge.
Oh wow.
In our case, we've adjusted. So in heavy haul, our average fuel is it's 2.5 to 4 miles per gallon. So under load. Of course, empty would be better than that.
Yeah. So it's pretty detrimental. I mean, the fuel cost is
it's significant.
double.
More than double. So we base our fuel surcharge off of what we actually average. And so it's covering the fuel. Our rates are already significantly higher on a lot of things. So if you go to a customer and say, hey, I'm going to pop you with another $1.50 a mile, that actually don't fly. So we just offset enough to cover the addition for now. I think we implemented it at $4 a gallon. And, it's on a sliding scale up to, whatever it's going to go to.
Have you seen, they've talked about, especially recently, the market starting to take off? They were talking about especially flatbed rates.
Yes. This week has been the first week so we've got our project freight, but we still got gaps to fill. And this week has been the first week this year we have been able to fill all those gaps.
Really?
Yes.
This week
Started Monday. Started yesterday. And I did that, Wayne and I did that together in about 4.5 hours just. We cleaned this, we tightened this whole week up. I mean, everybody's booked off.
That's good.
Yes, that is a first for 26.
Yeah, they were saying just with some of the, they said these data I centers is having an impact on that. They said like some of these new bills that are bringing manufacturing back, we're finally starting to see the fruit of that in the United States.
Data centers are huge. That's a huge driving factor. That's probably 65% of our work right now. Is the data center industry.
Wow. And you all run all 48 states?
In Canada.
Okay. So today, again, you said 2012, so you're almost 15 years in on this. Like, what's your role today now in the company?
So I'm still in sales. I'm still in just about everything currently. So we've got kind of a skeleton crew right now. End of last year, things took a major downturn. Things got really slow. So we ended up letting go of. We had 6 dispatchers. We scaled down to 2. We had 4 sales guys, and now it's just Wayne and I. Kind of had to change some things for cash flow purposes because it just didn't make sense to just pay somebody to be here. My role today is probably still, I would say, sales. I'm my fingers are in just about everything. I help dispatch. I'll go to job sites. I'll coordinate with my drivers at job sites. We usually send Fred, was a guy I'll introduce you to him a little bit later, but he's our job site safety, but he's also a pilot car driver.
Oh, right.
So we match those two together. But I do every site visit, so I'm still kind of treadmilling everything, you might say, at the moment.
Yeah. So these site visits, they can be all over, right? They're not just okay.
Yeah, the last 3 weeks I've been in Utah, Washington, Georgia. I never know which way I'm going to get.
Well, yeah, I'm going to say for us, we've been. It's been a couple months trying to coordinate this, but like I said, you've been busy on the road, and I remember some of those were in Utah.
Yeah. We've been helping on the MARTA tram project. They're moving those they're built in Salt Lake, they're moving them to Atlanta.
What is that again?
The MARTA is a tram system in Atlanta.
Okay.
So we were moving the tram cars in. That's where I was the last 2 weeks. I got back from that on last Thursday. So
I think you use BulkLoads before we actually met and before Jesse Bounds. And I think we got, really connected because we did a video shoot with Jesse Bounds, and he said, "Hey, do you know Kendal Mast? He's right up the road." And like, now it doesn't ring a bell. And then, lo and behold, you're just a couple hours north of us. But talk about, how did you find Jesse Bounds? And you've been a part of his group, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I've been pretty much since the beginning. Since he started 10-4 coaching, I think I've been in there. Maybe I think I came in a month or two after that. But how I met Jesse Bounds was kind of crazy. I've seen his trucks out there. I had relatives out there close to him. I've seen his trucks everywhere. A guy I go to church with builds steel buildings for Hostetler's down in Buffalo. And Jesse's hay barns come from Buffalo.
Oh, okay.
So I was working with a trucking company in Washington, and Charles happened to be out there building this building. I was like, well, I want to see this building. It's pretty impressive. It's his newest one all the way on the end. I think he's been out there.
Yeah.
And sitting there talking to Charles, and Jesse walked in. And we ended up sitting there talking for a long time. And that was right before he started 10-4 coaching. That was probably a month. I think he was in the process of trying to work on that. I think he mentioned that he was going to be starting with a new phone. So we exchanged phone numbers, and that's how I met Jesse.
Interesting. So it wasn't from finding him on social media or.
After I met him, then of course the algorithms and everything, and just see everything. Yeah. But it hadn't been social media up to that point.
Have you been out to his seminars or conferences?
Yeah, I've been out to September a year ago. We were out at the big one he had there in his house. His TACON.
You were there?
I really wanted to go, but my anniversary was that week. So went down to South Florida instead.
Yeah. What, if you could sum up anything, what have you learned from being in that coaching business?
Surround yourself with people. Know your finances. That's of course that's what you preach about all day long. You have to know where you're at. You have to know, and if you can't do it, you have to find somebody that can help you. Those are probably two of the things. I will say this: if it wouldn't be for that, I probably wouldn't have the accountant I do, or know the people I do that have helped me get to where we're at.
Wow.
And that's just in the last 2 years. To scale from 20 trucks to 60 without knowing where we were, we did it. We paid for it and are still paying for it. Because if we didn't have our numbers quite right, we thought we didn't, you can go upside down so fast running that way. Now we know. Now we know. Now we have, our numbers are really current, really, really tight. We know exactly where we stand. But, I didn't graduate from high school. I dropped out. Well, our school only went to 8th grade. I grew up in a little Mennonite school down in Somerville, Missouri. We weren't taught anything business. Everything I've learned has either been the hard way or meeting people like Jesse. There was no classes for any of that.
Wow. It sounds like you're a visionary guy. What I can tell, just say, you came to the BulkLoads conference this year, which was awesome. Thank you for that. Love to hear your feedback, by the way. But talk about the future of Kendal Wood Products. I mean, where do you see this company? I mean, as of today, it sounds like you guys are in a great spot. We know the market goes up and down. The next 5 years, 10 years, do you have a growth mindset, or is it a survival mindset? Is it?
If you're not growing, you're going backwards. My opinion. There's not really so we're not going to go to, like, we jump 20 trucks at a time there for a bit. That's too drastic. We're probably going to add 5 to 8 trucks a year. for the next 5 years to get us somewhere around 100 to 110 is kind of what we're looking at the moment. And I mean, it's kind of going to depend on contracts that happen and what our needs are, as they come. We've kind of got some stuff we're looking at for the next 2 years. If we take all that on, it's going to take, probably 7 or 8 more trucks pretty quick. So yeah, I mean, our goal is probably 100 to 110 in 5 to 6 years.
Any family coming up through the ranks to be in the business with you?
Got a son, but he's 7.
Okay, you still got a ways.
He's got a ways to go. But outside of that, no.
Is there any other businesses besides the trucking arm that you all are a part of? So
we actually have a trailer rental. We have 65 trucks. We have 147 trailers.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And of course, we can't pull them all at once, so we just got that many different. So in our downtimes, we'll lease trailers out. We also have a freight brokerage that we do a little bit with. But yeah, that's pretty much it.
I know you said you're the salesman. When you're out there, how do you find more business?
Knocking on doors.
Really?
Calling people. Word of mouth is probably a huge. And I mean, in this industry, you would think that, okay, everybody just goes to the load board. But a lot of people talk. A lot of customers talk. The world's not as big as we think it is. A lot of people talk, and that word of mouth carries a long ways, the good and the bad. Bad sometimes faster than the good. So, majority of it's knocking on doors, calling people. Showing up's a huge thing to people. Not very many people show up. There's a lot of people that'll cold call, and they don't ever show up. They don't ever set foot. They don't ever see what they're doing. They just send their crew, and
we were it made me think. We were in Minnesota last week. Large company, Wayne Transport, and did a video with them. Okay. And there's 700 plus trucks now, 75 years in business.
Wow.
But they said almost exactly what you said. They said, it's amazing if you just give good service, how much more business you get. Mm-hmm. And again, sounds obvious, but he said there's so many companies out there that don't say what they're going to do. Yep. They fall off. They overcommit. And they said a lot of their success over the years is just like doing what they said they're going to do and performing exceptional service to the customer. They said there's plenty of work to go around if you just perform. Yep.
Show up.
Yeah.
I don't think, we've been slow, but we've always had work. It hasn't been, what we've always wanted, but we've always had work. And we're finally buried again, and I love it. I love it.
If anything keeps you up at night, what is it? Like, what, and you're younger than me, and I have my own anxiety that keeps me up at night. But if anything, right now,
probably
what's always in the back of your head?
Probably wondering, what the future holds. Wondering where we're going to go. Who's going to make that next mistake that's going to cost us a contract? Because that has happened. And I finally come to the point where you just can't think. I just can't think about that stuff. Otherwise, I won't sleep, because there's 50 chances every day that that's going to happen. There's 50 trucks on the road. But that's always my biggest concern is, something bad. Accidents happen. Stuff happens. When is that going to happen? Well, how am I going to handle it if it does? Those questions are just circulate all the time.
So how do you get peace with that?
Just stop thinking about it. Give it to God. Let God take it, and just, hope for the best.
Well, I'm glad you said that, and I love that you brought up church. It's been important in my life. Credit our business success to Him. But talk about how that plays a role in your life. How do you incorporate that with your business? I love that you sound like you're not ashamed to talk about your faith in the workplace.
So, I mean, it's a part of everything we do, or we try to make it a part of everything we do. Hasn't always been that way. I'll be honest. I grew up in a church. Grew up in a sound church. Um, but it hasn't always been that way. I mean, there's been times when you just kind of give up and you're like, it ain't worth, you know, where's God in all this? Stuff happens, things get tight, things get slow, bankruptcy is looming. You're like this, where do we go with this? But I will say this, we wouldn't be where we are without him at all. And we wouldn't have got through some of that stuff without him. And it's always been, once you come through stuff like that, you can see his hand guiding every step of the way, opening the doors, closing the doors. And then when you get past those doors, you look back and you're like, yeah, I know now why that door didn't open. That would have been bad. But, I mean, it's a part of everything we do. Has to be.
I'm more curious just because for me, trying to, incorporate in the workplace, but what is your rhythm besides church as far as your time with the Lord?
Every morning, 5:00. I usually try to work out every morning, but if I don't, I got a sauna now. So I'll jump in there for 25, 30 minutes and I'll just sit there and I'll just, I got the Bible app on my phone. I'll just listen. I don't read very well. So I'll just listen and then I'll pray. That's pretty much how I try to start every morning.
It's awesome. Journaling at all?
I don't journal. Reading and writing are two things that I struggle pretty badly with. My writing's terrible, and I can read. I'm not, but comprehending's tough. So I listen. I listen to a lot of podcasts. I'll listen to the Bible, and so then I have my sauna's my prayer closet, I guess you might say.
It's awesome.
Spend a lot of quality time in there.
Well, the proof's in the pudding the success of this business. Last question, and then love to get a tour. How are you intentional on leading people? Because again, there's times where you want to try to control everything. I'm just speaking from a fellow business person. You want to, try to have your hands involved in everything. Also, you have to keep in mind you're getting older. Your kids are young right now, but there's going to be more time you want to spend with them. I'm thinking about that. What are ways that you're intentionally leading others and growing other people up through the ranks?
That's probably my weakest point. I like to show, which makes me a terrible teacher. Because when I show, I end up doing it. So one of the things I've tried to back down is to take people with me and let them do it and show them how to do it. Now I'm talking like, moving freight, tying down loads, securement. I'd rather just go do it. But nobody learns. And then you become a terrible leader because you're controlling it. Here in the office, taking people with me on sales calls, just, and letting them kind of go with it with a little bit of guidance from me. And I'm not the best salesman in the world. I don't have. I mean, we've closed a lot of deals, but there again, I think God's been on our side on that. But no, that is definitely one of my weakest points is training. I told Tate, my partner, I said I'm probably the worst trainer that there ever was.
Biggest learning lesson or biggest mistake that you learned from? Now I'll put you on the spot. I can think of always five or six of mine. It's like I got a laundry list of them.
I do have a long list of bad lessons. Probably the biggest one was hiring the wrong accountant. That can put you in a world of hurt quick. Second biggest one was probably we acquired 20 of these T680s through a lease program. Currently in the process of buying that out. That was a very, very bad mistake.
Through the leasing company?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. So the OEM, the manufacturer?
Yep. So we were running a lease program. I'm not going to mention any names, but and it turned the deal wasn't what it was supposed to be.
Oh.
So we ended up just purchasing them out and getting out of that deal because it was getting so expensive quick. And that was a painful about $1 million lesson.
It takes a while to recover off that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes, it does.
Well, those are always like, man, appreciate your vulnerability because we can always talk about the highlights, but I think it's sharing the stories of lessons and failures that I always try to, because at the end of the day, we're human. We don't have it all together. We're out there learning just like everybody else, and trying to share those mistakes with others just to help others guide them is pretty important.
Yeah.
So, well, man, appreciate your insight on this. This has been super eye-opening. Yeah, if we can, like I said, we'd love to get a tour.